everyone, it's Mary. Welcome back to my channel where we talk about all things related to the storytelling industry. And as you can tell by the title of this video, this was initially meant to be a vlog about our experience at Farmer's Fair, but honestly, it was so crazy busy that I had no time to record clips along the way. So, unfortunately, this is going to mostly be me being a talking head. So, also excuse the hot pink lipstick that's going on right now. I tried those lip stains that are all over TikTok where you put them on your lips, they dry and you peel them off. And holy moly, they work because I'm rocking the hot pink lipstick today. We're going to go along with it. All right, so as I mentioned, preparing for Farmer's Fair and actual Farmer's Fair weekend was insane. So basically I worked Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, and because I was trying to fit 5 days of work into 3, it was a little bit crazy. I was working late nights, most nights of the week, and also trying to prepare things for the event. So some of the things I had to prepare, for example, were we wanted to hand out postcards, so we had information, we had bracelets and pins and all kinds of different things we were giving out. And so I had to design and print and get everything kind of together that we needed for the event. We went out and got decorations for the car, for the parade, just all that little things do we have masking tape? Do we have lights for the canopy after dark? Do we have a tablecloth? Do we have tape in case it gets windy? We need to tape things down, all those little things that you don't necessarily think about. And between me and my sister, she had a list and I had a list. So the whole week leading into Farmer's Fair was so crazy busy that there really was no time for me to sit down and record. And then I thought, oh, well, I'll record and talk about our experiences at the fair. Not only was it super loud because we were right by the main stage and then also the rides. We had rides on one end and the main stage on the other. So it was deafening all weekend long. But it was just so busy that there really was no opportunity. So I'm going to try to relay how things went to you guys as best as I can as a talking head. So first and foremost, I want to talk to you guys a little bit about the Aurora Farmer's Fair because a lot of people are like, why was this such a big event? It's a small town. Yes, it is a small town, but the Aurora Farmer's Fair is actually a very well-known event in the state of Indiana. It is either the oldest or one of the oldest fairs in Indiana. And it is really well visited by pretty much anybody in the southern part of the state. Kentucky, we get a lot of people from Cincinnati area that come over. They usually have really good musical artists. They have a lot of just rides and vendors and you name it. There's a lot of entertainment. They even had a wrestling thing where people were doing, not like high school wrestling, like WWE. Is that what I'm looking? I don't know. I don't know wrestling, the stuff on TV. Okay, they do that kind of stuff. They even had that set up by the main stage on one day, and we're doing wrestling in the afternoon where it was this is Badman Paul and his opponent Batman from Louisville. I don't watch wrestling. I have no idea. So anyways, it's really fun. So if you haven't checked it out, I think you should. And also part 2, that is a couple other, part 2 and part 3. Part 2 is that many of you may not know that my sister and I started a business, Quigley Productions, LLC, and we registered it to my sister's home in Aurora. So we are technically an Aurora, Indiana business. And then also the book we wrote is Haunted Dearborn County, Indiana, and Aurora is in Dearborn County. So you see the connections there between a popular fair, we're registered business to the area, and our book is about the area. So of course it made perfect sense that we set up a booth, not only selling our book as a vendor, but also promoting the podcast. So we had just free swag for the podcast and informational postcards that we passed out. So secondly, it was our first time ever setting up as vendors and our first time setting up as vendors outside. Now, we did a little book fair at Ripley County Reads, which was absolutely wonderful. And we sold a few copies, but we sold it just cash, right? This was our first time with Square for credit cards and taking Venmos. And we sold so many books. I think our final count was something like 52 or 55. We sold a lot of books and we were taking multiple forms of payment, plus signing the books for people. It was absolutely crazy. But The thing that I don't think either one of us were really prepared for was the fact that it was outside. Setting up at a book fair, at a library, and setting up outside are two different beasts. Now, my sister did have a canopy, and the canopy is the kind that you set up at like the beach or like your kids' pee-wee football game. That kind, it was a great canopy, glad we had it, but we definitely learned that we probably need to have like tarps or something to, or something tied to legs because it got windy. So Wednesday night, my sister and her husband set up, everything was fine. Thursday, it was windy and rainy. Thankfully, the canopy is waterproof, but we did not consider the fact that like the rain would still mist into the canopy because we didn't have any walls, right? It's open, it's just a roof. So our books got a little soggy, like the two that we had on the table. Thankfully, we had a plastic container for the rest of them, but we realized that like that didn't work. Also, the fact that our postcards are paper and not laminated. So we were like, okay, next year we probably need to laminate at least one postcard of each informational thing. And then, we have postcards, would you like one? And then pull one out of the bag or something that's not wet. So like weatherproofing, having tarps, maybe having tarps around the walls, but also tarps you can cover things with, having things in plastic containers, having different paper things, laminated, that sort of thing, because things definitely got a little soggy on Thursday. Friday was dry, warm, sunny, and gorgeous. Perfect day. We packed a cooler, had fair food for dinner. I had an amazing time. Great day. Saturday was freezing. Oh my goodness. Like hat and gloves freezing for the parade on Saturday. My sister and my nephew were the ones that were passing out the candy to people. I stayed in the warmth of the car. Thank you very much. We ended up setting up our booth around 12:30-ish because the parade started at 10. We got done with the parade like 11:30, and then we had to go set up, blah, blah, blah. And it was still like in the 40s. And it stayed cold the entire day. I had a hoodie, a jacket, hat, gloves, and a blanket. And I still could not feel my feet and my hands. I was so cold. We ended up selling way more books than we thought we would, and we only had a handful of books left. So I remember my sister and I went there with the goal that we wanted to sell one box. So one box from the publisher is 25 books. So we were like, if we sell 25 books, we're going to be happy. We had two boxes of 50 altogether, and then we had a handful left over from a previous event. So I think we went into the event like with 65 books, between 60 and 65 books. Let's say 65. And we sold like 52 to 55 books. So by the time we were down to like the last few books, and it was like 6:30 at night, and the fair went until 10, I looked at my sister and I was like, I can't feel my face. I cannot feel my face. So like, are you okay with packing it up early? So we ended up packing up and leaving the fair at like 7 o'clock because at that point we were so cold and so tired, and all we wanted was like warm clothes, a good sit down meal somewhere, and to sleep. So that is what we did. A few logistical things that we did not think about that we know better for next year. So if you've never set up at an outside event, some tips to help you out here, okay? Just simple things like, it was difficult to go to the bathroom and eat, seriously, because it was so busy and we were selling books, right? Next year, we're talking about selling merch for the podcast, like t-shirts and mugs and hats and, I don't know, whatever else we decide to sell as merch for the podcast. So it was already difficult just selling books. You can't just like pack up and walk away and go to the bathroom. You have boxes of merchandise. And I'd like to believe that all people are honest people, but let's be realistic here. I don't at any point think that, or, with any doubt, think that somebody would not walk up and help themselves to something. So it was difficult. And me and my sister tried to take turns, but it wasn't always easy because of how busy it was. I mean, there was multiple times where we had more than one person purchasing something at the same time. And so one of the things we talked about for future years is that we need almost a person to come in, and they don't have to be there all day, but maybe to come in a couple of times throughout the day to relieve us to go to the bathroom without feeling like we have to rush back, and to go have a meal, because also it was difficult to eat. You would go get your meal, you would bring it back, but then you'd get busy. So your food is sitting there, and by the time you got back to your food, it was cold, because every time you'd sit down to eat, somebody would show up. So we also discussed, having somebody come so that we could actually either step away or be in the back of the booth while they handle the sales, so that you can eat without interruption. Because again, especially on Saturday and on Thursday night where it was raining, it was so cold that basically your food was nasty by the time you got to it. The other thing that we thought about was just not eating the fair food. So you are allowed to bring a cooler, and we did pack a cooler with just a few snacks like cheese and crackers type thing, and with some drinks. And that helped tremendously because we didn't have to spend any money really on drinks at the fair. Because, even a bottle of water is like $3-4 at the fair, right? Sometimes more depending on what fair you're going to. But we didn't pack food. And I'm okay with eating like one meal at the fair. Like, oh, maybe I'll go have a corn dog for dinner or something like that. That's not a big deal, right? Go have a walking taco or something like that. But it added up very quickly eating every meal at the fair, because everything gets escalated in price anyway. So, it was like $6 for a corn dog. Think about that. Like a whole meal was easily $15 to $20, depending on who you were buying from and what you were getting, right? At least it was at this fair. I'm sure there are some fairs that are even more expensive than that. So one of the things my sister and I discussed was packing a cooler with sandwiches and salads and stuff. And we're not going to have a lot of time to do things, because the weekend was so busy. You were basically closing, sleeping, getting up, going back to it. It was nonstop. But even just going to the deli section of the grocery store and getting prepackaged salads and sandwiches, that's better than nothing. Go get some chicken salad in a container and take a loaf of bread with you. You can have a chicken salad sandwich or whatever. Or even going to Subway and putting them in your cooler on the way in. Whatever you got to do, right? Because it just was so crazy and so expensive. It would have been cheaper to pack our own meals. And like I said, I'm not mad about doing a meal at the fair. That's fine. Maybe, we're going to pack our lunch and our snacks, but we'll have dinner at the fair. That's fair. But every meal and every snack out, because let's be real, by day 3, nobody wanted the cheese and crackers in the cooler. So having a variety of fruits and vegetables, because you also can't find salads at the fair. So, something like that was something we also didn't think about. But overall, it was a really, really good experience for us. We had a great time. We met a lot of people. One of the coolest parts for us was having people come up that already read the book, because the book had been out since August, saying how much they loved the book. Or what was really cool was having people come up and talk about their experiences. So oh yeah, I used to live across from, Hill Forest, and I remember seeing a woman in the window or whatever, just hearing their stories, and also hearing about ghost stories that we didn't know about, that we're like, oh, do we need to do a part 2? Because we heard about so many different legends about Dearborn County that we didn't even know about when we wrote the book. So it was such a cool experience. I'm so glad we did it. Like I said, we're definitely going to be back next year. And my sister and I actually talked about making this a spot on our permanent rotation because we had such a good time. Another thing that I can say that's a positive about Farmers Fair was that we've gotten a lot of publicity off of being in the fair. Now, it's kind of a twofold thing. Right before the fair, my sister's principal, because my sister's a teacher, posted about her book to their high school Facebook page. And then that was also shared by different school districts around the area onto their Facebook pages. So then that got picked up by a local radio station who featured us on their website, because it's kind of like a radio station / a news site. So they featured us on their news site, at least my sister, they did, and mentioned the book and everything. So I think that, combined with us being in the Farmers Fair, has ended up generating a ton of publicity for not only the book, but also the podcast. And our book had fallen down on Amazon rankings, but with all of the publicity we've received, it's actually moved up to like the top 50 in Amazon bestsellers for our category again. And then Amazon's like only got like 10 or 11 copies left, so we've pretty much sold out Amazon stock at this point. And then also, we've gotten a lot of other things that have popped up. So interviews, we were name dropped on a Fox 59 News article that they wrote for their website, which Fox 59, if those of you who are not familiar, is a very, very well-known and popular news station out of Indianapolis. So that's a big deal. And then we've got another interview coming up at our event on the 21st. Someone's going to actually come out and interview us in person. Just all kinds of really neat publicity opportunities. And just looking at the Facebook and social media followers growing like astronomically since last weekend. And it has to be because of not only the news articles and the Facebook posts by the school corporation, but also because so many saw us at the Farmers Fair. And in fact, when we were set up at the fair, we had people say, oh, I saw this book on Facebook, meaning the Facebook post from her principal. And they were like, and I had to come out and buy a copy from you. So I really think all of our success started by this posting by our principal and has just kind of skyrocketed since then. So we're really excited. Our whole goal was to grow and make this a business. There are a lot of people that I look up to in general for different things they've done. Just to name a few, someone who I really admire a lot is, for example, Troy Taylor. And Troy Taylor for the state of Illinois, if you want to know about paranormal, anything, ghosts of any kind or spooky, creepy things of any kind in the state of Illinois, you talk to Troy Taylor. He's the one who knows everything about Illinois hauntings. And my sister and I would very much like to be those people for Indiana. Prior to us, there was a very well-known, a couple of really well-known. So you had Mark Merriman, who was very well-known for Indiana paranormal stuff. And then you also had Ron Baker, prior to that. Very, very well-known authors of hauntings and paranormal things in Indiana. And my sister and I have often said that we would like to take the gauntlet from them and take that from them and say, hey, we're going to take this torch and we're going to be the people that you reach out to if you want to know about ghosts and paranormal in Indiana. That's our goal. Whether or not we will ever get there, we will see, but we love it. It's so much fun. And we are just excited to continue growing this. So, like I said, I did not take very many videos, but I do have a few that I will tack on to the end of this video. But before I go, if you like my videos, make sure that you give me a thumbs up or you subscribe so you're notified every time I post. Thank you for watching. I will be back in the next video. Check out these few clips and pictures and all that good stuff for you guys. I'll see you next week. Hello. We're here at the Farmers Fair. If you haven't stopped by to see us yet, make sure you do so before the weekend's up. We're going to be here today and tomorrow.
Yes, we'd love to see you. Stop by, say hello.
Yeah.